Types of farming. So it is categorized under two headings or two types: subsistence farming and commercial farming. So under subsistence farming, we have intensive and primitive, and under commercial, we have extensive commercial farming, plantation farming, and mixed farming. So now let's study about them in detail. Subsistence farming. Farming or a system of farming that provide all or almost all the goods required by the farm family without any significant surplus for sale. So subsistence means it's a system of agriculture in which the farmers they produce exclusively for his own consumption. As the farmers and his family member consume the entire farm produce, they do not have any surplus production to sell in the market. So the first type of subsistence farming is intensive subsistence farming. So this type of farming is practiced in area of high population pressure on land. It is labor intensive farming, and under this type of farming the farmers they use high amount of biochemical inputs, irrigation, so as to obtain higher production. Now shifting agriculture. The shifting agriculture is also known as the slash and burn, or it's a type of the primitive subsistence farming. So what is slash and burn farming? Slash and burn farming is a form of shifting agriculture, a method of agriculture in which existing vegetation is cut down and burned off before new seeds are sown, typically used as a method for clearing forest land for farming. So as already said that it's a primitive farming, primitive method of farming. So what the farmers they do mean they select a patch of forest, okay, and they set the forest under fire, and they cultivate for few years until the fertility of the soil is reduced. So once the fertility of the soil is reduced, the farmers they abandon the place and they move to a fresh piece of land, and the same process is repeated. Now let's see the result of this type of slash and burn farming. The resulting layer of ash provides the newly cleared land with a nutrient-rich layer to help fertilize crop. However, under this method, land is only fertile for a couple of years before the nutrients are used up. So one thing you have to note out here, so this type of farming, that's primitive subsistence farming, also known as a shifting or a slash and burn farming, it's not an environment friendly method. Why this type of farming is not encouraged means it involves deforestation, and burning increases the level of greenhouse gases. Now let's move on to the second, that's a commercial farming. So when farmers do not grow crops or raise animal for their own good but to sell it. That means whatever the farmers they grow, the sole purpose is to earn profit. That means they export in order to earn income. So see the features. It is done on large scale farms. It creates employment for many people, and the farmers they use modern inputs like high yielding variety seeds, chemical fertilizers, insecticides and pesticides in order to obtain better yield. So now let's see the intensive farming. So it is a system of farming in which small farms are cultivated using large inputs of manual labor, example rice, wheat, etc. It is a labor intensive method of cultivation. Now let's see the features. Number one, small farms are intensively cultivated. Number two, more than one crop is cultivated in the same field. Number three, modern techniques are used to increase the output. Now, extensive farming. This type of farming is practiced on large farms with the help of machines. Example, rice, wheat, sugarcane. It is a capital intensive method. Features: farms are huge in size. Number two, machines are used. Number three, specialized in the production of one or two commercial crops. Number four, crop yield is high with large surplus for sale. The next one, plantation farming. So it is the production of the single crop on a large scale by using scientific method, mainly for sale. So examples of plantation farming are tea, coffee, rubber. And these plantations were introduced in India by the Europeans in the 19th century. Features: one crop is cultivated using modern scientific method. That means we often call it as a monoculture, cultivation of single crop over large area. Number two, fertilizers are used extensively. Number three, commercial crops are grown for sale. And number four, a large amount of capital is invested. And the last one is the mixed farming. So mixed farming means it's a cultivation of crops along with rearing of animal. Features: crops and animals are raised simultaneously. Two or more crops are grown together. Crop rotation is practiced. Now, what do you mean by crop rotation? So, this is the growing of a different crop on the same field after the harvest of the previous crop. Okay, it is generally done to, like, it's usually done to preserve minerals in the soil, like especially the leguminous crops like peas, beans, pulses are generally planted after the crops like wheat. Why? Because it adds nitrogen to the soil exhausted by wheat. And lastly, it ensures a steady income to the farmers because they carry the two, the occupation side by side. Like they cultivate the crop also, at the same time they raise livestock also.